Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode 559 for the week of, it's still September 26th, 2022. My name is Ryan Higgins. Who's here this week?
Brock Sager.
It got very dark in here.
Kevin.
I know. It happens when I say my name.
Oh, well.
Julian.
And Charlie.
Charlie's here. And finally, a special guest back once again.
Yes, Julian is here as well from Nerds Without Pants.
Julian.
I felt bad going, like, I didn't want to go after Charlie because you get the and Charlie, and that's more important than me.
Oh, no, it's special guest at the end. Special guest at the end.
No, it's like credits, right? And Charlie, and then it goes with guest starring.
We two times for very specific reasons, because you've got things to say and we want to hear you say these things. So we are very glad to have you back on. I know we missed last week. I was out of town. I felt horrible when I got back. I think something about the weather going from 115 degrees to 60 degrees and raining in like 3 days wasn't good for my body. So yeah, California weather, man, figure it out. We've got some Sandman to catch up on. I've watched a couple episodes, but we're going to be talking about She-Hulk. Julian is here to talk about She-Hulk, show on Disney Plus, and we talked about it briefly. I think me and Brock did on our last episode. We kind of were holding off for Toby. Toby's still out of the country. He will be back hopefully next week, if not the week after. Definitely get Toby's take by the end of the show, because I know this is the show he really wanted to talk about as well. But Julian is here. We're going to do She-Hulk, Sandman up front. And then we got a couple news stories. Nothing major this week, but I wanted to kind of get this out of the way first. Julian, you had a question, though.
Yes, I did.
You like She-Hulk?
I do, but I was more just like kind of tangentially aware of She-Hulk. I'd read like a handful of issues. It's funny because apparently, like, I had read the third issue of Sensational She-Hulk like multiple times, because when I used to get sick as a kid, my mom would just like get a bunch of comics off the spinner rack when she would pick up my medicine. And that was just one of the issues that she got, I guess, because Spider-Man was on the cover. And like that was my first exposure to She-Hulk.
So we all know how old Julian is based on where his mother purchased said comic books.
Yeah, I miss the spinner racks. Yeah, so before the TV show came out, I went ahead and picked up the John Byrne omnibus, kind of in response to all of the whining about She-Hulk not being big enough, because I was like, that's what the character looks like from my memory. But this is my first time reading this run, and I started to notice a certain theme throughout Byrne's run, and I wanted to ask you guys about, like, if you had any inkling about like what was going on at the time, because it very much started to become like old man yelling at the sun, where he was clearly not happy with early 90s Marvel, specific, and like the Jim Lee and Liefeld and McFarlane and all those guys, and he started to like kind of openly mock their drawing and writing styles, to the point that I was kind of shocked that he was getting away with the stuff that he was saying. And I was just wondering if you guys knew if there was any like more to that, in the background, like if you had ever heard anything about like if he really had like a pretty big axe to grind, and if that ended up with, to like leading up to him leaving again.
I'm sure he did, right? I mean, these are the guys coming in to replace him. Byrne's been the angry old man for his entire career, I mean, I don't remember specific stories. Kevin, do you remember anything?
There was something about him being recruited, or being a conversation. You hear a different story from everybody who tells it. So find the truth somewhere in the middle of him being joining the original Image Studios, something like that. So he was part of that. What was that other studio, Ryan, that had Frank Miller and was it Legend?
Yeah, it was part of Dark Horse.
Yeah, he was part of that. Mm-hmm. But there had been some conversation, according to I think it's, I don't want to put words in people's mouths, Julian. So I think it's Burns said that those guys wanted him. They say, no, we never did. That's not true. Burns still shit talks Liefeld's art today, even at like in 2022.
Well, I mean, who doesn't?
Well, we'll just let that be. But there's a history. Any chance that he's gotten in comics that he's written and drawn to take his shots at people? There's when he took over Starbrand in the new universe. There's Jim Shooter is in that comic as a villain. Like it doesn't call him Jim Shooter, but he's drawn and looks exactly like Jim Shooter is a villain. So yeah, what you're picking up on is pretty accurate. He's never shy about expressing opinions. And you could say, well, isn't that refreshing because everybody's so careful and talks around things and nobody's ever direct? Or you can say, do you have to be an asshole all the time? And you can kind of find your flavor of those two extremes.
Yeah, it was very funny at first, and then like the longer it went on, I was like, oh, okay, like you know that this is like the new hotness, right? And you know, to be fair, like I started reading comics in '89, so like the early '90s Marvel thing is like my zone, and it wasn't until many years later that I went back and started to read some of Burns' stuff. So you know, seeing how he was very much like the how to draw comics the Marvel way type of guy. And then, you know, you have Jim Lee and Liefeld and them coming in with like the big pecs, big tits, you know, big hair style. I can definitely see that clashing. But it was just weird to go back and read that right now. He makes fun of the swimsuit issues at some point, and yeah, kind of vicious. I was very surprised.
Well, and part of his She-Hulk run too was to sort of poke fun at a lot of the stuff anyway. Yeah. So I'm sure, you know, I've read a decent amount of it. I don't know. Maybe if you look at it with today's eyes, it may read different. I don't remember being like overly attacking Marvel, but just kind of parroting a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I have to go back and look at some of that stuff. I wonder how. Yeah, well, it sounds like it reads a little different today.
To correct myself, he drew Jim Shooter into the Legends miniseries as a villain. In Starbrand, he blew up Jim Shooter's hometown. So it's two different. Sorry, I got my things mixed up there.
Who's Shooter in Legends?
He's a villain that Guy Gardner fights in like one scene, and he gets his hand. He has like the Starbrand on his hand, and Guy Gardner, I think, puts a bubble over his hand, and it explodes. And so the guy's just standing there with no hand.
Okay,
he's just a joke villain in like 2 pages.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, you know, I think when me and Brock were talking about She-Hulk, I think we were both pretty surprised with, I mean, at least from my perspective, how good it has been. You know, I was hoping we'd finally have a Marvel show that really hits the tone it goes for. You know, I've wanted Moon Knight to be darker. I've wanted some of the other shows to be more serious. I wanted WandaVision to be weird, and they all kind of pull back. So far, She-Hulk has really been the one that's stuck. Yeah, maybe other than Miss Marvel, really stuck with its tone as much as possible. And I've loved. I know, Kevin, you said you watched the first
of She-Hulk.
You're just checking it out, yeah.
I might have gotten to number 3, but I couldn't tell you off. You'd have to tell me what happens in each one, and that'll sure be some exciting listening. I just can't remember what's. Oh, you know what? You guys talk. I'll look it up now, and then I can answer it.
Yeah, and Charlie and Julian, yeah, let us know.
Yeah,
like I said, me and Brock kind of talked about it a little bit, but yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying it. You know, I think when I go back and rewatch like this phase of the MCU, I'm probably not going to be rewatching the shows. I might rewatch WandaVision. But it's a lot of TV, and I feel like I kind of got the experience. But She-Hulk, I've just been digging. Like it's you know, it's a regular sitcom length, and I'm actually sad when it's over every week. So I'm like, oh, I needed more. If anything, I think my only complaint is that it actually doesn't get crazy enough. Like I would like to see her actually like kind of criticizing the director or the writer over scripts and shots and stuff like that, the way that she did to the Burn in the Sensational She-Hulk run, and kind of like break out of the screen a little bit. But I understand why that's probably a little bit too much.
I think she's had there was at least one shot where she's like talking to the camera to like follow her. I mean, she's talking to the audience, obviously, but she's like, oh yeah, it's like over there. Like, did she like push the camera at one point, or she does something?
She and her,
or like she's out of frame.
They had her address the whole like Wong's back to get ratings or something to that effect. Like she's had a few times when she's addressed like, we're doing this for going viral or whatnot.
Well, this whole last episode, all her comments at the beginning, clearly was just to stick it to the people that are only watching for Daredevil to show up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Kevin's waving his hand. She's like, don't you just hate it when a wedding is shoved into the middle of another story arc and you just have to get a wedding just shows up unexpectedly and is like shoved into the middle of the plans you have. She kind of looks at the camera. That was a really it's really funny. People are like, oh, Ryan hates humor. No, I love humor. I just think it's usually very bad. Or just very out of place. And ASL does a very, very good job with it. And it's not exactly like the comics. Obviously, they're going to do different things, but it's as good as I think it would get for a Disney Plus show. Yeah, sure, they could do some Netflix and push it way, way further. But I'm very happy with it.
They already have Deadpool for that. Like, technically, they own Deadpool, so Deadpool is the character that's going to push a lot of those things a lot harder.
I know they're taking their time introducing the mutants into the MCU, but if I could like wish for anything in this show, it would be a scene, maybe even a post-credits thing where she runs into Deadpool and she's talking to the camera and he looks at her, he's like, oh, you can do it too?
Yeah. So there is a limit, right? What was I was talking? Me and Brock were talking about this a few weeks ago. What's the girl's name?
Madison
that shows up in the long episode. Madison, like,
and you don't
amazing.
Why is where you don't think it is?
Close, amazing, hilarious. I never need to see her again.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Oh, Marvel's going to release a 6-issue miniseries.
It's the beginning. It's of next the year. Right. Don't kill that joke. Don't bury it. Just let it. It's there. You never need to talk about it again. It's very funny. Don't ruin it, right? I don't need 20 spin-off shows. I don't need her showing up in the post-credit scenes of MCU movies. No, it's a funny joke, and let it exist, and don't drive it into the ground, right? With Deadpool, again, the Deadpool movies tread very carefully and don't overstay. He doesn't overstay his welcome. He hasn't shown up in a ton of stuff. I think they have to be conscious because that joke gets very old very quickly. It like happened in the comics, right? They way overplayed him. Deadpool hasn't had an ongoing series in a while. The last couple of series have been miniseries or specials. They haven't lasted very long. Like, the book is... The character has needed to rest for a while. And so I'm glad he's in the comics. He's getting some time off because it's a little too much to have endless, Deadpool stuff, right? I would not want him. Like, look, if they put him in like the final episode of the show and they do that scene, like, that could be funny, but I don't need it to be like, their wacky monthly or wacky weekly team up every single week.
Oh,
forever.
No, I definitely don't want that. No, I just want it to be like a quick,
that's the next, that's
like
the
make
next
it an odd
TV show, right? It's the Deadpool team up show.
Yeah,
See, I love how Ryan's talking
limited
about
amounts.
that
Limited amounts.
You need limited amounts of Deadpool when we've literally only had the like Free Guy trailer since Deadpool 2, which was
it's been a while now.
4 years? 3?
Yeah, it's great. I don't want them to play up Deadpool when he starts coming into the Marvel stuff. just
Free Guy was 2021, so 2 years.
It's just too much, right?
Well, also too,
I don't know. I mean, all the Deadpool movies have had very impressive viral marketing campaigns. I could completely see them doing something with Deadpool with various things just to promote towards Deadpool 3. Just because Ryan Reynolds would have way too much fun making jokes at various shows' expenses.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And that's fine. That's fine.
I mean, just imagine She-Hulk beating the shit out of Deadpool. Like, he's pissed off at her for trying to steal his shtick. And he comes after her, and she's like, nope, she beats the living shit out of him. Right? Like, actively. Not like that. Colossus beating him up, but, like, actively beating him up. That would be funny. But, no, I was going to say something about the Byrne stuff. His sensational She-Hulk stuff happened after his action DC stuff.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And that stuff is whoa. To say it's good. Off is
there's some odd issues in there, but that's just Byrne. I mean, that's when he's writing stuff too. Yeah,
I mean, Darkseid with a decanter holding a VHS tape of a porn. Yeah. And the dialogue is basically, guess what I found your wife doing?
Yeah, there's some weird stuff in that run. But there's some really good stuff in that run too. So Byrne's a weird guy. I just there's not much else you could say. He's a weird guy.
This is what I'm starting to realize.
Yeah, no, She-Hulk's been great. It's just been a fun, good, just like the ride has just been really fun. Even the wedding episode that was kind of an interruption, I still enjoyed them dealing with Immortal Man, right? Like,
I like that stuff.
I tweeted this earlier. I like that the first 3 mutants introduced in the Marvel Universe are Miss Marvel, Immortal Man, and Namor. Something because they've confirmed. Oh yeah, Namor is a mutant, right? Something about that is just so bizarre. In the comics, Miss Marvel's not a mutant. Immortal Man is a joke. He's a parody character. He's a joke character. He's one of the Great Lakes Avengers. And Namor, retroactively, kind of is a mutant. So, I mean, not really, but.
Well, see, the thing is the beauty of it is they're all Skrulls, so it doesn't matter.
They might be,
right?
Charlie, I don't think we get your take. You've been watching She-Hulk.
Oh yeah,
What's your thoughts?
I'm a big fan of Tatiana from Orphan Black, and I'm a big fan of the Dan Slott run of She-Hulk. So, yeah, the show just hits it just right for me.
She's nailing it, both sides of the character.
Yeah.
And, I understand.
There were a few times when I will admit I was legitimately surprised how much they're nailing certain things, just because obviously signs of the times and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that happens in She-Hulk comics and stuff where I'm like, I'm not sure I would see that in comics now.
Right.
And there's a couple of things in the show again where I'm a little surprised that it feels like some of those older She-Hulk comics where I'm surprised that they're embracing some of that stuff, but it all works.
Well, Julian's read more of it recently, so maybe you can confirm this. But my memory of reading those Byrne issues is it's more sexy humor, where it's more pro-feminine humor within the show. It doesn't. I don't remember those Byrne. I don't know that John Byrne's the world's greatest feminist or anything like that. It definitely seemed like it was not. It's not. I don't know. I would say insulting, but I'm not sure those jokes would fly today.
No.
Right?
Yeah. he there was definitely like a lot of like cheesecake in the Sensational She-Hulk run, but whenever there was, she would kind of like call him out on it and be like, really, Byrne? Like, do I really need a wet t-shirt right now? That type of thing.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking about it earlier. Like that style of humor is why we have books like Empowered and stuff too, is just because of how ridiculous some of that older comics would get with playing up that sexual humor and stuff.
Yeah, and I understand that it's a bad thing to have like all the IPs owned by like two corporations. Mm-hmm. I never wanted Disney to own all of Fox and shit. I just wanted, I just figured that if you owned Marvel, you should be able to use all of the Marvel toys, in your properties. Mm-hmm. And the fact that like She-Hulk made me really sad that like they don't actually have the rights to Spider-Man, because he should totally be in an episode of She-Hulk, and he, like I need to see him like palling around with Daredevil some more, and it just feels like that's such a big ask the way that like all this shit is going down, and it made me a little sad.
Yeah, I wonder what the future of Spider-Man is going to be at Marvel. I kind of get the feeling Sony's going to hold him back entirely, but I don't know, maybe not. It makes sense. It'd be a smart move to let him show up, even if it's not actually Tobey Maguire. Tom Holland. Even if it's just CG and voiceover or something like that, right? Just a costume. I'd be surprised if they didn't work something out. But yeah, it would feel like
Iron Man
he'd be a good fit
in Homecoming.
Oh, he'd be a good fit in this. Yeah. I mean, they're always going to have.
At the end, he was there.
I mean, if they even
easy to do.
Yeah. Like one of the. They don't even necessarily need to go too crazy. I remember there was, I want to say it was the old like 90s Fantastic Four cartoon where they were doing the Galactus episodes, and they would show a bunch of stuff to make it clear other heroes were out there, but it would literally just be like a shot of Spider-Man's hand whipping out. You wouldn't actually like fully see Spider-Man there and that kind of stuff. It doesn't take much to make the fanboys and girls notice and go crazy for just a Daredevil helmet here. And
well, but what I think I love about She-Hulk is that it trolls the bad fanboys.
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it trolls them hard, and I'm like, yes, give me more.
Well, I just love the fact that it's trolling of movement that like there's something interesting about sort of the self-fulfilling prophecy of She-Hulk obviously predicted the kind of bad trolling that would be out there for the show before the show even was filmed potentially, because it does really lean into some of that with some of its marketing and some of the stuff in the show where it just feels like they totally knew they would be getting review bombed and this stuff.
They knew. Of course they knew. Yeah.
It's just funny to, see like these, quote unquote fanboys like getting bent out of shape about this show when it's like, this is one of the most comic accurate things that they've done. So
by far.
I love the fact that the creators of the show were so aware that there would be that fanboy backlash that they wrote it into the script ahead of time. Like,
and they were kind of able to do that with Captain Marvel also, right? Like, there's definitely a few lines in there that aren't kind of as overt, but definitely seem aimed more at like people who are going to criticize it for the most, baseless stuff.
Yeah, but it does. So one of the things that works so well about the She-Hulk, and I'm pulling mainly from the Dan Slott run because I remember that more vividly than some of the other stuff that I've read. But I love the comic was always very self-aware of everything, similar to what you're saying about calling out Byrne in the comic for doing that to the character and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it really works in a She-Hulk show to be aware enough of how people are going to react to the fact that it's a She-Hulk show and make that part of the show. It is beyond accurate to how they've handled the comics in some way.
Yeah. And I kind of dig how, I'm not too familiar with Titania as a character, but I got the impression that she was kind of like a show up to challenge She-Hulk and then get immediately beaten down and then rinse and repeat. So it's kind of neat to have it, change into like a Jen just kind of keeps getting a one-up over her in just life. And it's not really like a big superhero, supervillain type of rivalry. It's more of just like, because, she's an influencer, right? So it's a very different take on what someone with superpowers would be like in 2022.
Well, really like that. In general, that would be the one character that doesn't really feel accurate to me, actually. Yeah. It's fine. I like the actress who's playing her and stuff from The Good Place and such. So I don't necessarily mind that it's not a comic accurate because it wasn't my favorite character to begin with. But it is one of those things where it felt a very large departure to me.
Yeah, Titania, look, she's kind of nothing in the comics,
isn't
right?
Isn't she just mean?
Sure, there's some big fans out there, but a lot of characters, we talked about Peacemaker, right? And with DC, how he's kind of a blank slate. There's not a, look, he's obviously been in books, but he's a very just kind of generic character. She's a very generic character. I don't mind a spin on something like that. We're like, okay, we have this idea and it's fun and we can play with it and do something different. That's fine. No, is it accurate to the comic? No, of course not. Mr. Mortal isn't either, but it's a fun joke and it works within the context of the show and the movie. Look, if that's your favorite character, it's fair, but understand that they're getting the main character right, and that's usually the most important part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are the odds, in your opinions, that she ends up in either her own movie or showing up in a movie as like not just a cameo, but like a major character? Because it feels like, obviously, like Ms. Marvel's going to be in a movie, but these Marvel shows, like they seem like kind of not quite the Netflix thing of like being completely removed, but also still pretty separate.
I mean, I'm pretty confident that the Young Avengers stuff is getting built up in the shows. So I think all the kids are going to form the Young Avengers, whether that's a show or a movie. I don't know, but I'm pretty confident in that. If there's a spot for her, right? That'd be great if she cameos or she's in the Avengers movie, right? She's their lawyer, right? They have to deal with some random thing and she shows up for one scene. That'd be great. I'd love that, right? I mean, that's the whole point of having these shows and the movies in the same universe is that they can intersect and they can do stuff. She show up to fight Kang. That'd be fucking great, right? Hulk can't make it, and then she jumps out of nowhere and then she just kicks some ass. I mean, the crowd would love it, right? So. I think there's all the reason in the world to assume that these characters will show up in some fashion in a movie somewhere. The Avengers is the place to do it because it's your big group movie. So
it ties. She ties into like Masters of Evil, Frightful Four, so it's like you have potential to do like super villain groups.
What if she's in the FF movie?
I was just gonna say that would be really cool.
That could be fun.
Maybe she helps represent them as they form their brand, because they have to do that because she already knows what happens when you don't trademark your name.
Right. Yeah, because I'll say very common. She's one of the more common alternate FF members. Yeah. She's been in a couple of runs. So I like that. She'd be fun in the Fantastic Four.
Well, Mr. Titania is nothing. You forget she was an FF alternate.
That's what I said. That's what I just said.
No, Titania, not She-Hulk.
When was Titania? Or was she in the FF?
The 80s? Post-Burn. I want to say the Ron Friends era.
Oh, for like an arc or something, right? She wasn't in it for... Yeah, okay, I kind of do remember that.
I'm saying you got two alternate FF members as the two main characters of the show.
Well, who else was on that team?
Oh,
God, I can't remember.
See, we got to do research actually before recording to have all this stuff ready. I mean, this is you're asking questions of a professional podcast here.
I could see the covers like in my mind's eye, exactly. But like I can't get it like in my I can't remember off the top of my head. Well, anyway, yep, I think she'll show up and stuff. You know, Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night. You know, like that's a little bit harder. Hawkeye, yeah, I think the kids, yeah. What's coming? What else is coming? What shows are next? I don't even know.
Is the
Secret Invasion doesn't count?
Okay, I was going to say, I think that's the next one, right? The Nick Fury show.
Yeah, because most of the other shows are based. There's not a lot. What are the other original ones coming up? Like that don't come from something, because that comes from that. That comes from all the Nick Fury stuff. Iron Heart is original, but she's going to be in Black Panther.
Give me Darkhawk, you cowards.
Oh, fuck yeah. Hell yeah. Now we're talking.
Yeah, because then we'll get Penance.
What? That's Civil War.
So you're saying Penance already exists?
What am I thinking?
So we'll get Penance first and then Speedball?
So yeah, Werewolf by Night. I mean, so that's its own thing.
Oh, wait. I have to, speaking of Penance, I have to do it again. I was wrong. It's Thundra in the FF, not Titania.
Yeah. Okay.
Thundra.
Okay. That sounds right.
I will fall on my sword for that, but I will also say, in my defense, that is not a hard mistake to make between those two names.
Well, that's what I mean. They're very generic characters, right?
She was in the Frightful Four numerous times.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is a super villain team that they can introduce down the road. So who knows?
Yeah, none of the upcoming shows. Well, I mean Daredevil, I guess you want to say Daredevil, but none of the announced shows are original except for this and
Daredevil's
they'll come from something, right? They're all
Werewolf.
Yeah. I said other than this and Werewolf by Night, those are the last two.
Isn't Blade coming out of Werewolf by Night?
Is Blade in Werewolf by Night? I have no idea.
I mean,
because Echo comes out of...
That'd be a place to introduce him, considering aren't they doing a Blade movie?
I completely forgot that they're doing a Blade movie.
Like, isn't it like next year, too?
Yeah,
it's fairly soon.
He's going to most likely be attached to Werewolf by Night.
But
Werewolf by Night, I think, takes place in the... I mean, I think takes place in the past. It looks like it does.
I don't even know that
it's Blade. He's a vampire.
Werewolf by Night, as much as I want to be able to go, like, it's totally going to be connected to the larger MCU universe, it doesn't have to be. The way they did the trailer and everything else, it can be whatever the fuck it wants to be at this point.
Sure. Well, yeah, Man-Thing. And that opens up the Man-Thing opens the connection to the Nexus of all realities, which opens it up to the connection to Doctor Strange and the multiverse and everything. So
and it opens it up to making Nick Cage Ghost Rider again.
They should have some fun with that show. That looks pretty good. I hope they can. I said this on the other podcast. I hope they can keep that as an actual like kind of screwball horror thing and not make it.
Well, that's why I'm saying I don't necessarily feel like it needs to connect to everything else, because it really feels like it should just be a screwball horror thing.
Yeah.
Didn't they change it to horror, not comedy?
Well, I mean, the trailer definitely does some comedic moments in the trailer. And again, I don't mind the comedy as long as it's done in a kind of gross, over the top. It looks very like grindhousey, you know. And I hope that's not just the trailer. I hope that's what it actually looks like. I hope that's actually what I don't say it's a short. It's just like a one-off, right?
It's a one-shot
episode or something. Yeah, so
it's just like the Guardians holiday special. Like it's just a one-shot.
Yeah.
Remember, Disney used to do holiday things.
She-Hulk, the last original show. Well, and Werewolf by Night. Those are the last two like original. I thought we'd get more. They'll probably announce some more.
They're gonna have a new Warrior show. They're gonna have
no, that got scrapped.
Oh no,
there's so many characters.
The Warrior show, not that hashtag Snowflake whatever. Team
that's the comic.
Build up.
All right, let's move over to Ryan's other favorite thing. Let's talk about Sandman here for a little bit. Julian, have you been watching Sandman?
No, couple
get off this podcast.
Couple things. I haven't read Sandman.
What?
Yet.
It's okay.
And also, I don't have Netflix anymore. So this is actually a good place to ask: should I jump into the books right now, or should I just re-up my Netflix subscription and start with that? Because you guys are the number one experts on this very topic as far as with both mediums. So I defer to you.
So my advice to other people has been. My advice, people listening have heard me say this 1,000 times. I always recommend the first 2 books for Sandman. Now the first 1 book, if you buy the bigger softcover editions, they have these they reformatted them. It's basically it's kind of the equivalent. Only because the first half is way more horror and a little more connected to the DC universe. The second volume is kind of more like what the rest of Sandman is. So they feel a little bit different. The show covers the same material. Mm-hmm. And I would read the comic first only because the show, I feel, does a good job of expanding on some of the things the comic only has so much space to tell, right? The show obviously can do more than what the comic can
So
do.
Ryan, what you're saying is we're all going to pitch in and mail Julian the first volume of the Sandman trade.
Available in finer comic shops and in online vendors all over the country.
So that's a no, Julian. I tried.
Now I just have to order it through Comixology.
I know Neil recently acknowledged because somebody was posting sorry, and he's like, no, if you want to point people to the library, go for it.
Oh yeah. Use Zoopla or just reference local library or something. Yeah, of course.
Neil Gaiman, the guy who's responsible for shooting the Lord of the Rings show so poorly. That Neil Gaiman.
I love all of that. Way too much.
I can't tell if some of the people are
Ryan,
just
people are that
trolling
stupid.
him.
Nope.
Or if
people are that stupid.
Yeah, for people that don't know, the part of the internet that hates Lord of the Rings because they hate women and black people, I have decided that for some reason Neil Gaiman is like the showrunner on the show.
Well,
he just posted positive comments about it, but people message him like he's involved in the show.
So as far as I know,
very bizarre.
It got started because somebody was trying to pull him into the debate on the other side, being like, Neil knows the original books and stuff, and he came back with quotes from the book that supported the more diverse cast.
Yeah.
And that's what sort of started dragging him into it, that people took that as he must be involved in
It's
this,
so bizarre.
Yes. But it's hilarious. I love the way Neil handles internet trolls.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, I mean, Neil's probably gonna have a book about trolls, just trolls, and how to deal with them.
Trolls,
and it's gonna be a bestseller.
It's very funny. Yeah, I'm always gonna recommend the comic first, right? Because then what's different. There's big changes. Well, yeah. There's big enough changes.
The show keeps the essence of the books very, very well.
Yeah.
It updates what needs to update. It evolves what needs to evolve. So reading the Sandman source material would be the better way to go if you want to kind of enjoy it more.
Well, also kind of like She-Hulk, the Burn Run is a little bit, I won't say dated, but it doesn't all translate to today. Some of the stuff in Sandman does not necessarily translate to today. I think if you watch the show first, you'd go back to the quote unquote worse version on some the way certain characters are portrayed in a couple situations. So it's not that Neil Gaiman was racist or sexist or bigoted or anything like that. It's just it was a different time, so things were written a little bit different. I think if you went back, you'd be like, oh, this is maybe not as handled as quite as well as the show. for in a couple situations. Not that I think the comic does anything bad or incorrect or I don't think it's like
the comic never does.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like
the comic never does anything that's blatantly going.
No, it's just
stories.
Words change over time, right? Meanings change over time. What's acceptable one time changes a little bit. I don't think there's anything in the book that is bad or should be changed or altered or censored or anything like that. It's fine the way it is. I think you would just read it and go, oh, in the show, this is handled in a very 2022 way, and in the comic, it's a very 1989 way. So
yeah, I mean, we're all roughly around the same age. I think we've all become accustomed to revisiting media from when we were growing up, and being able to say, okay, look, this doesn't fly anymore, but it was at that time in that place, and
Sandman even at the time was pushing. Things,
it was
right. Like, I mean, he had gay characters. He had
there were no transgender characters in comics at that time, right? And there isn't Sandman. It's handled very well. I feel, but yeah, things obviously are a little bit different. I mean, I'm just always going to recommend read the comic first, just because you have a better base. That's actually Kevin wasn't on this episode. I wanted to when we talked about this. I want to ask, how far are you? Are you caught up to where we are? Where I am?
You have to be at 8.
I am one ahead of you as of today. Okay. So I have next week's episode watched already.
Okay. Or this week's episode.
Whatever.
The one I'm watching.
The one you're watching this week, I have already
algorithm to get us a second season. You two are horrible.
I'm following Ryan's lead, so blame him. I'm just
sheep to slaughtering our second season.
The Sound of Her Wings, and which is really a 2-part episode, right? I actually think I liked the ending of the episode with I can never remember his name.
Hob Gabling.
Hob, yeah. I actually think I like the episode ending better than the comic ending. I don't know if you remember, because in the comic they have the big fight. And it's just like a panel later, he shows up and he's like, yep, I'm here. I mean, it's the same dialogue, but it's so quick. In the comic, in the show, I was like, how are they going to do this? Because the whole idea in the comic was that things took place 100 years later, right?
The reason you really loved it was because it was done in 1989, and the music in that scene just got you in the mood.
Well, no, I think it was that I really like the way that scene's portrayed in the show, because in the comic, it's 1989. Sandman goes in, he meets him, and it's over, right? In the show, he doesn't show up. But when he finally gets there, he had made the new bar, right? The new pub and the new building, and moved over, and he was still there. So it's the dialogue's, I think, almost identical. But the situation changes, and he's like, I waited. And I'm like, that's a layer that's an additional layer, as what I was saying earlier, Julian. You sort of get the original version in the comic, and you're like, oh, that's a very cool story. There's a added sort of twist in the show that, like, for me, I was like, oh, I like this actually better. I think this is a more satisfying ending to the story, because it gives you just that one little extra layer, and I really like that. I know we're talking. I don't know if you felt the same, Kevin. That was one of the things I wanted to get your take on.
I thought it was how generally are we speaking here, since Julian hasn't seen it?
Oh, don't mind me. Like, whatever you guys are talking about, like, it's out of context so much for me that by the time I get to reading it, like,
you could just do the smartest thing of all and just mute us all. I thought Ryan. So now I have to go back, mentally to. But I remember I felt it was kind of odd to staple those two storylines together at first.
A little bit, but I thought it worked.
No, I thought it worked okay. Hob is one of those things that doesn't need its own episode, so you have to kind of attach it somewhat. I think. I don't think it would. I don't think there's enough meat on the bone to fill an episode.
Well, really, Sound of Her Wings. Also, again, it's a one issue.
Yeah,
like Watchmen, I could see getting an hour out of a book.
Yeah,
I think you could turn each issue of Watchmen into a 1-hour episode. I don't think you can really do that with Sandman. Not most of the issues. Like episode 1 worked. Mm-hmm. They added a couple things, but episode 1 is a packed jam-packed issue and oversized.
It's oversized.
So that made sense that was an entire first episode.
There are issues that lead to being full episodes, like Ramadan issue 50 would be good.
There are, but
the Emperor of the United States would probably be a really good.
The one-off stories, I like them kind of putting them together in a little package episode. I think that's the best way to handle it because
time-wise it fits, but some of those are a little longer than others.
I think so.
But yeah, everyone wants the Midsummer Night Dream 2-part. So,
I already said this in the other episode. I am now on record. I want that to be a movie-length special on Netflix. I want Midsummer's Night Dream to be a movie-length episode. I want it to be like an hour and a half, hour 45, special in between 2 seasons. In between what? I guess that'd be in between 2 and 3.
No, it's a little later.
I guess it'd be between 1 and 2, but I don't know that it would really work the way where they've left it off.
I mean, that's one of the nice things about. Their streaming services have a lot of problems, right? But one of the nice things about a lot of these adaptation shows being on these streaming services is that they can just kind of be the length that they need to be episode to episode.
No, I love that. Well, and you've seen that with like AMC with like Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, and some other premium shows. All the Game of Thrones stuff on HBO. They'll go an hour 10. They'll be 48 minutes. I've seen that on
Rings of Power
stuff.
Is slowly getting longer and longer.
Every episode's a little bit longer.
It's driving me nuts. It's good, but I cannot.
Is this like Stranger Things where the last episode is going to be like 4 hours long?
So we've officially decided, in my roommate and his girlfriend and I, that we watch Rings of Power and then we watch She-Hulk. So that way we're not like, we have something to look forward to, and we don't end on the, oh God, we just watched how much slow motion footage?
But wait. So first of all, I'm really enjoying Rings of Power, but the obvious question that you just opened up is, why are you watching it? When you say we watch it and we put She-Hulk after so we have something to look forward to, implies why don't just skip to She-Hulk?
Getting longer. Like, it's good, but it's just like slow.
So stop watching. You're not being paid.
I like Tolkien, man.
Your life is slipping through the hourglass. Focus on something you enjoy.
Don't even get me started with that intro, like those intro credits. Oh,
that's why they have that skip intro button.
We know. We skip it every time we go. How much time did we gain?
Like 37 seconds.
So 2 minutes and like 38 seconds.
Anyway, Sandman,
Doll's House. What was I going to say? I kind of had a place I was going to go with this. I like it. I think I am in the minority. I fucking love Preludes and Nocturnes. I absolutely love. I like Doll's House. I love Preludes and Nocturnes. It's not that I think the show is bad at all. It's great. I just really like the first arc of Sandman, and I find that's not usually a common.
So the first arc of Sandman
opinion
is. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I think I enjoyed it more the more I read it and the more I experienced it. So I've read it numerous times I've never read it in single issue. I've only read it in trade. But I enjoyed it in the audiobooks. Those were fantastic. But I think what happens is when you read it, that first trade, and especially where it ends with Sound of Her Wings, it's just a really like solid paced miniseries that gives you a nice epilogue, right? Like, and it's not like it, but it gives you this flavor of stories as you're going, right? Because you get the entrapment and the release, you get the getting all of your stuff together to go on the quest, and then you get him having to go and get his things back. But each of those stories is its own kind of cup of tea, right? Like the Sand with Constantine is an experience in itself. The Diner is an experience in itself. Going to Hell, right? Like all of these are just large, grand experiences. And I think when you read those issues for the first time, you're kind of just overwhelmed by it all. But when you go back, you start to appreciate it more. I mean, my favorite season of Mist, but that's for other reasons. But yeah, Preludes and Nocturnes is up there.
Yeah, I just I like all the Corinthian stuff, obviously. We get a little lost at the dream vortex thing, but it's still great. They changed the nightmare because Bruton Glob, right?
Yeah, so
that kidnaps the brother.
It kidnaps the brother, and the brother is he's actually with Sandman and oh shit, what's her name?
He's with
her.
Lyda Hall.
Lyda, right? He's
Lyda
with
Hall.
Lyda Hall and Carter Hall, right?
Hector Hall.
So the boy is with them in like the dreaming.
In the dreaming.
And it's those two kind of oddity like things. So they kind of they got rid of them and kind of just made this new one. And Lyda is now with Rose.
So little context: comic version versus TV version. In the comics, Lyda Hall is Fury, or Earth 2 Wonder Woman's daughter. Hector Hall, is he Hector? Do they call him Hector in the show?
Yeah, he's Hector. Yeah.
Okay. Do they? Yeah. I for some reason I couldn't catch his name. That is Silver Scarab. Later Dr. Fate, and he's also Sandman. So he's Hector Hall's been a couple different characters. Bruton Glob. So the nightmare that kidnaps Rose's brother in the show. I don't think that's from the comic.
No,
I'm pretty sure she was just made up for the show. In the comics, it's these two characters from the 1970s Jack Kirby Sandman series, Bruton Glob. They were like the two like beast things that hung out with Sandman, that version of Sandman. And so that costume that the kid's wearing is what kind of the Sandman character from the comics would wear. I loved in the episode too. It's written Pied Piper. What the hell? Where'd that come from? Like, I
thought, I was sorry that they wouldn't or couldn't use the Jack Kirby Sandman, but I thought it was a pretty elegant writing around of not having him. I thought they did a nice job with that.
The kid is dreaming he's a superhero.
But what I really liked was sprinkling the toys.
Yeah, so there's
they have all of those old like action figures for like Wonder Woman and like Flash and like
you can see them in the background. Again, so for the comic people, if you look on the screen, right? I mean, the Pied Piper. I mean, they don't show them, but they talk about them, right? I mean, they mention them. Mirror Master. Wait, is it? Captain Cold's on the screen, but fucking Psycho Pirate's on the screen, and I was like, holy fuck, Psycho Pirate, right? The nerd out reason for Psycho Pirate to be important is because he is one of the key people in Crisis on Infinite Earths and now the current Dark Crisis series. And other books, he's always shows up when the Crisis stuff happens, or the lead up to Dark Crisis. And he's like super connected to the multiverse. And one of his things is like he has like, post Crisis, obviously, like he knows the multiverse thing is real. So just acknowledging him in this is puts kind of that little link to this being a multiverse of the DC universe. So I really like when they do stuff like that. Yeah, that really caught me off guard when I thought he was just gonna have that costume and be whatever, but I'm like, oh, that's some like Silver Age ass, like Captain Cold on the screen. That's great. I love that. Yeah, that was fun. That was a cool episode. But yeah, I wasn't sure. I didn't assume, again, Bruton Glob. I had no idea if they were going to actually use them. But
I think you could have used those.
Yeah, they would have just been random.
Yeah,
that
would have been cool.
I think
it's rights things that they have, because a lot of the issues, like, because I read articles that they had when they were doing this, was at the time he could utilize the DC characters, because nobody was really using them, and DC was like, yeah, we don't care. But when you transition over to other media,
I can't imagine Kirby's has any rights.
But that's the thing is, who owns those rights? It's not you only own it's DC, but DC.
No, Kirby doesn't have any rights to Sandman or any of that stuff. I know. There's no way.
I know.
There's no way.
But the thing is DC owns those rights. They're only giving the rights to Sandman universe stuff, not necessarily the DC stuff that's attached to it.
I mean, at the end of
I
the
don't
day,
know. I don't think so. Because
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Well,
that was one of the things as you were talking about little changes. I'm like, I would hope in the, what has it been, 30 years since he wrote Sandman, something like that?
Yep.
That he would have had a few things that he might do differently if he was writing it today that he can do in the show. In theory, he's a better writer now than he was back then.
Yeah.
Well, in the comic, he stops brewing glob, he gets the kid back done, right? In this, I forget the name of the nightmare. It actually is her talk with Morpheus actually is like a pretty damning, conversation or accusation to him about the nature of his rule and her just wanting to protect this kid. I don't remember the comic. I don't remember being like Brute and Glob weren't like, oh, we gotta save this kid. Like I don't remember them being very like good. Like at the end of the day, she actually is trying to do something good.
It's Galt
and redeem herself.
Galt.
So
the name of the nightmare is
Galt.
Yeah.
Galt. Yeah. So again, it's just an added layer that I think makes the show, it's a little surprising and does something a little bit different, and I like it.
I will say after the I got to make sure to talk only about where we are.
You can't.
I think I can still safely say this.
You can
I can still safely say this. It's a conversation I was just having today. I have Corinthian fatigue. Like, I think that I think the show is treating that character as a way more interesting entity than what he's interesting because he has teeth for eyes. That's it. Other than that, he's a one-dimensional mustache twisting villain.
I don't expect Corinthian will be like the series villain. I don't care. It does not. I'm not concerned about spoilers. Really, I don't know if anyone else, Brock or Kevin. I don't know if you want to know or don't want to know or anything like that. So,
I mean, I've already watched
Charlie and Brock can confirm or deny. I just kind of expect he's gone by the end of the show. He's going to be the villain of the season. So I'm okay with it. I like him in the background. I like him chewing up scenery. I mean, I'm 1,000% down with a season of the Corinthian. But yeah, no, he shouldn't be like this ultimate big bad that's going to be there for the whole series.
Well, I think what I really enjoy about the show is the threads that it weaves from the beginning to all the way till the end, especially with like, things are still dangling. Like we met Will Shakespeare in Sound of Her Wings. Corinthian sets in motion things that happen, where other things would have set those things in motion in the comic book. And I think that like, even the stuff that because like, again, you were introduced to Desire after Sound of Her Wings. Right. And then you get to actually see, them interact with Despair. So, there's layer upon layer that's building there. And like, I can understand having like Corinthian fatigue, because especially in episode 9 or, leading into episode 9, it's all about Corinthian, right? Like the people planning the convention want to get his attention, right? The character himself is trying to outmaneuver Dream, and skew the scales in his favor. So there's a lot going on with that character, especially in the lead up to episode 9, which is what Kevin just finished with. So
So I will say this, especially going into the earlier episodes of Sandman and stuff. I think the only reason you're potentially getting fatigue is because you know as much as you do about the character already. Like, I do think they do a good job in the last episodes of giving you a little bit more than just a, hey, look, he's a villain. But the way this works kind of reminds me of other TV shows where you don't know a lot about the bad guy. They just keep showing up and you get a sense of there's more going on here. Like, there was, I'm trying to think, it was series 8, I want to say, of Doctor Who that introduced Missy, and through the season, Missy kept showing up, but it's not till the final episodes that you find out who Missy is and what was really going on there. And I feel this is sort of similar there, where to somebody who doesn't know Sandman, Corinthian is the bad guy who kind of pops up, pulls the strings a little bit, have no clue fully what's going on with that character until you get to the final episodes, and then you kind of get that payoff. But as somebody who's read the comics and stuff and knows who the character is already, I can understand getting some fatigue, just because in the comics the character's a little more one-dimensional than it is in the show when you finally get to the payoff.
Yep.
And he's not in the entire first book either, right? So he's
only
in way more of the show
Yeah.
than he is in the comic.
Yeah, but as I said, if you didn't know as much as you know about the comic, it's just some mysterious bad guy pulling the strings that you'd want to know more about. Like, the way you're watching the show is exactly, you should be talking about, who is this mysterious person? Why is he pulling, like, those would be the conversations you'd be having around the water cooler if you didn't already know the comic source material.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was like one of the things.
The way they've restructured the show is better for people who haven't read the comics.
Yes.
That's kind of what made that first season of Heroes, so compelling, was the mystery of Sylar, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy, Heroes.
There's a flashback. Remember when that's all we had?
Is that early
on? Man.
When was Heroes?
Heroes. It was 1,000 lifetimes ago.
But I mean, the same kind of thing. If you had a comic that told you everything that was going on in that first season, I doubt it would have been as compelling in Heroes. So
yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's only 2006. Almost.
Yeah, yeah, it was a while ago. We're cruising to the end. Couple weeks.
It was very cool to see the in the dream, the Barbie and I want to call him Snuffleupagus, but you know what I mean, that big dog.
Geez.
Yeah. Geez.
They should have a no prize for whoever gets this first without Googling it.
Oh shit!
Hands up! It's oh God, what's its name?
I just listened to the fucking audiobook.
I swear I'm going to say Snuffleupagus, but
no, it's not Snuffleupagus.
I know. I wish it was.
It's on the tip of my tongue. Look it up. I can't remember.
The cuckoo. I know it's like there's the cuckoos attached to that.
No, the cuckoo's the villain.
The villain. I know, but the cuckoo's the villain. Oh Jesus! What is it, Ryan?
Is it Mr. something?
I'm looking.
Yeah, it's Mr. something.
I'm looking. What the heck is it called? I'll find it. Keep talking.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Okay. I led us right into this cul-de-sac of good radio.
It's a good time to be Neil Gaiman, right? Like, after this wraps, Good Omens season 2 should be coming out pretty soon.
Martin Tenbones.
Oh yes. Okay.
Like, I had it on the tip of my tongue, and I just couldn't remember what he was called.
Martin Tenbones. Do you think this is the cuckoo? Yeah. What was the thing that they were going for? Oh shit! It was the.
Yeah, the.
They say it in the show.
Yeah,
but it was very cool to see because that was super comics accurate looking. Everything else.
Did they? Okay. I mean, spoiler. Spoiler. Did they come back? Like, did they do more with that?
Well, that would be stuff that happens in the next season.
Oh, I guess that's later, huh? Yeah,
right?
That is later.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the next arc. Yeah. 10 bones. Jesus Christ.
Well, no, because he is in Doll's house.
I like how completely out of context. I mean, they don't explain any of it. They're just like, here you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Porpentine. That was it. The Porpentine.
You're in the dreaming, so they can kind of do whatever. But yeah, they don't even try.
See, they're looking for the Porpentine.
Porpentine,
which is basically the Dreamstone.
Yeah. I couldn't have pulled that one out. More than 10 bones was on the tip of my tongue now.
Well, he is only in
Julian's like, what are they talking about?
Well, see, the thing is, well, you should we get Gilbert. Yeah,
he's at the very end of the episode I just watched. Gilbert shows up right at the very end, so he's one of the other, just one of the characters from the Dreaming. Yeah.
Played by Stephen Fry, right?
Yeah, Stephen Fry. Yep.
A great casting, top notch. Which that's what the show has done really well is casting. I have not had a complaint for any of the casting so far.
Yeah, no.
So wait, how many do we have left? Those of us who are on the Ryan plan.
So you're watching 9 this week. So you've already watched it.
Okay,
10 will be. And then you'll watch 11, which is 1,000 Cats and Calliope. Oh,
special. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I just rewatched it. It was so good.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that soon.
So, Julian, you'll have to read the comics.
Yeah. It's been on my to pickup list for ages. So I think with all of the hubbub around it right now, it's a good time to get it.
Or your local shop online, order it.
Yeah, I'm just horrible. I'm just all. Or you buy the comics and listen to the Audible while flipping through the comics.
Because the Audibles are pretty spot on. They change only a small fraction of the actual content.
Yeah, but the Audible struck me when I first started listening to it because I'm like, every little description, every little word balloon, every little thought balloon, it's all there.
Yes.
It's like those old books books with the cassette, I got as a kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very, very, very accurate. We're I think I should be fine. There was nothing so major news-wise that we need to deal with it this week. I'm just going to cut it here.
Why?
Because we had a ton of TV stuff to talk about.
You don't want to talk about more of the chaos that is Warner Brothers going to...
No. God,
could we just briefly... I don't want to end on a downer, but could we just briefly acknowledge the Carlos Pacheco news?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't actually... You know what? I don't even think I had that in here.
It was Parkinson's, right?
ALS.
ALS. Yeah. I should actually put this on here. Yeah. Lou Gehrig's disease. Carlos Pacheco. He actually announced that he is. Is he actually retiring, or he's kind of retired? Did he actually
he and Kurt Busiek have been doing that Aerosmith book,
right? But that's over. That's it, right? I mean, that as far as I know, that's ended. I mean, I don't know if they'll do more, but so he says, that's why he couldn't finish his commitment with the Fantastic Four because he left the FF book, and I'll be out for all of this year after surgery. I'll be back. Okay, so no, he's not actually trying to retire. So they are gonna go and do surgery. No. Sorry. That was earlier this year. Oh, that's right, because I forgot he had surgery too. I was like, wait,
this has been a bad health year
earlier
for him. Yeah.
So he was out, came back. Now he has ALS.
Yes.
I wonder if that's gonna. Yeah, he doesn't say anything about retiring. He doesn't say anything about stopping. So it sounds like he's gonna still. I mean, at some point you can, at some point, I think it makes it difficult.
Well, I know that I had no involvement in this, so I know that Carlos had a a commission list that he had to back out of and refund everybody. And I'm talking about like in the last 2 months. Yeah, so it's affecting his ability to.
Well, yeah. I wonder. I just wasn't sure if he had actually announced if he was going to have to fully retire or not. But I would hope he's still able to do a minimal amount of work.
Yeah.
Obviously,
so good.
Get a paycheck. Yeah. Carlos Pacheco he's great. It's very sad news. We'd end on a downer, Kevin.
Well, is there any good news?
I mean, I feel like every other episode we're talking about someone passing away, someone dying. It just feels like it's constant.
Debilitating diseases, all that fun stuff.
Well, it's that age where a lot of the Golden Age guys are almost entirely gone. Silver Age guys are not many. A lot of them are still around, but not as many as it used to be. And now we're starting to get a lot of the guys from sort of our rough earliest comic age of bronze and early 90s stuff is starting to get up in years.
Well, we can be positive by saying check out his brilliant work in Avengers Forever. And
he does with Kurt Busiek.
Yep, and he also did with Busiek those Superman a run on, was it Action or Superman? And then there's he did a storyline in the Batman Superman comic also, which was great, awesome as well, where they're going to all the alternate timelines. Very cool.
Yeah, he's a good artist. We'll see. We'll see what it means for the rest of his career the next couple of years. Hopefully he's still able to draw at least enough to make a living. That's tough. All right, Julian, any final notes, any thoughts before we get out of here? Any questions, anything you want to talk about?
No, just once again, thanks for having me back on. It's great to be able to have a place to talk about some of this stuff, because as I said, as much as I love my co-host, he's all video games all the time, so I don't really branch out into other geek stuff over there anymore.
God, who plays video games?
Oh man, he will power through like an 80-hour game in a week.
I mean, that was, go back 11 years or whatever. That was the inspiration for me to break off from Geekbox. I mean, obviously it was still a Geekbox, but I was like, I want to actually like get deeper into the comic stuff, because I got obviously I have a very lot to say. So yeah, that was our impetus to start this all those years back. So
back when I was a roadie.
Yeah.
Roadie Brock.
Yeah.
Roadie Brock. That was a long time ago. That was when Ryan would play WoW at the store. I need this book from the stupid bookcase.
Playing WoW now, like nothing has changed.
No, you actually had it on the store computer. Like the store
that was computer. Only once. That was only once for one thing. I do draw the line at playing video games at work. I do not.
You had it. You built the computer though, so that you could do that.
No. Any walk around on any computer. Okay. Look, Julian may know this. I don't know. For other people, World of Warcraft does a lot of dumb things. At one point, they had one of the dumbest things ever, and this was an item that would spawn just very randomly on this bookshelf. You don't know when, you don't know at what time. So I literally would just have it up in a little corner, and I'm not playing, right? I would just sit there for hours and hours and hours. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of stuff that happens, but this was just like
shit.
Yeah, so for weeks, I just had this stupid ass bookshelf just sitting here staring in my face while I'm doing all my work, and like, look at the little alarm go off when it finally popped up. So, man, that was it. Yeah, that was it. Because I can't justify sitting in front of my computer staring at it all night. Like, I'm at work, so I'm like, I'll just leave it here and just be on the side. Now it's Cookie Clicker. Now I just have Cookie Clicker running all the time. So, yeah.
Jesus.
Vampire Survivors is the new. That's the new shit,
dude.
Wait, you have Cookie Collector
right now?
Do you have Cookie Collector running at the store?
No, at home.
I was going to say, at the store, you got Twitter and the Red Sox going. You don't have time for anything.
Yeah.
He has to put the stuff out.
I've played a dozen or so runs of Vampire Survivor. Ryan Scott is like trying to break it. He went in deep. He's played nonstop for like a week. Vampire Survivor is a very good game. Super addictive.
It's so dumb, but it's so good.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's exactly the type of game I like. Okay. Julian, thank you very much. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Julian_Titus. You can find my show Nerds Without Pants at NWPcast. I would just like to say, if you've never listened to my show and you never listen to anything else, please, and if you like video game music, please check out Nerds Without Pants episode 232. It's a 6-hour episode. I'm not asking you to listen to all 6 hours, just the first 2. We basically did like 2 hours of like radio programming, and it's the most proud I've ever been of anything that I've created. It approaches like UHF, the movie levels of absurdity, with all of the bits and commercials and segments that we did in between the music. So super proud of it. It's just a blast, and if you just want to have something on in the background when you're at work, it's perfect for that.
That's great. Man, I'll have to check that out. What episode number was it?
232.
232.
And there's timestamps in there, so you can jump to right when it starts.
Nice. And all of us are on the Comic Conspiracy every week. Usually every week. Sorry, I had a couple of off weeks past month or two, but
it's like past 3 months.
Back on schedule now, as far as I know. Thank you to our top tier backers: Joe Duff, Kelsey May, Craig Anderson at ClearPath Coaches, Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum Podcast, and Talon Bray. Thank you all very much, and everyone else at patreon.com/Comic Conspiracy. Kick us a couple bucks over there. Always appreciated. You can visit comicconspiracypodcast.com and Apple Podcasts for all our previous episodes. You can go to comicsconspiracy.biz to purchase comic books from us. I know I keep saying it, but we are loading up issues. We have a lot of stuff on the website now. It's never ending at this point. We're always going to be adding more stuff to it. I just put up like another 100 discounted incentive variant covers. Like I pulled an entire short box of them. Ton of stuff at half off. Thousands and thousands of comics over on our website. Always new stuff going up. New books, old books.
You can buy them from us and know they're shipped well.
Yeah, Brock does all the shipping, and we'll definitely we'll get those out ASAP. Conspiratedbrock.com, Brock's blog and pull list, unboxing videos, all the other stuff he does over there. Charlie is on the Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension podcast, all about Doctor Who. You're on a break, but we're coming up to the finale. Coming up to the special.
Yeah, supposedly next month, but I don't see how it can be next month if they still haven't announced the date.
The date, right. It's this year, though, right? I mean,
it's for sure it's this year. But they had said in an interview, because it's tying into the Centennial special for the BBC, basically. That's what they're calling this particular special, the Centennial special, and that's supposed to be in October with the other stuff the BBC's doing.
Well, I think
so. It's really weird that they haven't announced the date.
Well, there's been a delay. England suffered a great loss recently, so there's a delay in things.
that might actually be it. I know. Premier League starts back up this week, so excited about that.
I just want to know, how many issues of Gargoyles are you ordering? That's what I want to know.
Gargoyles? Oh, well, I'll get a ton of those. Yeah, for the number one, for sure. Yeah. I'll definitely get a ton of Gargoyles. From Dynamite of all things.
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
So how many covers are there?
A lot.
Well, there's the 6 orderable ones, plus incentive covers, plus the $100 metal cover.
That's Dynamite.
So, Charlie, are you wanting all of those?
So far, I put in an order for one of the covers. Yes, I ordered a single. Actually, I ordered like 3 single issue comics from the shop the other day.
Whoa!
Going back in your it's the most comics Charlie's bought in years.
Whoa.
I ordered the Gargoyles issue. I ordered the Batman Spawn one shot,
Yeah.
And I ordered the Skull Kicker special.
I saw that. I saw that order come in. Yeah. I was like, oh, it's Charlie. Yeah, when's the last time they put a new Skull Kickers either? Like, you ordered 3 specials. It's like, well, that don't really count.
I mean, the Gargoyles is ongoing.
Yeah, they'll do an oversized hardcover of that Spawn for sure. That Spawn Batman, yeah. They will put that out in an oversized hardcover.
There'll be an absolute Batman point. Spawn. You're like,
yeah, but that's okay. I'm okay with supporting that particular crossover.
Yeah.
And such, but no, I've been because I should not have been surprised, but I was very surprised by just how many incentive covers there are for Gargoyles, which I cannot find pictures of.
This is every single week. This is me on Comic Hub adding all the covers for every single Dynamite book because there's generally 20 to 25 plus covers a week for every Dynamite book. It's by the time FOC hits, the covers will all be up and I'll update them. Like it's nightmarish. It happens every week. I should say, put this up on Facebook today. If any high rollers out there, the Batman Spawn number 1. 1 in 666, Greg Capullo signed certified edition that you could send straight off to CGC. $1,299.99 at Comics Conspiracy. Contact the store, please. The Todd McFarlane 1 in 666 signed edition with a certificate. $1,499.99 US at Comics Conspiracy, and the double signed certified 1 in 1,000 variant cover signed by both of them. A cool $24.99.99. So if you're all in,
wait, if you're all 1 in 1,000, it's $24.99.
$24.99.99. $2,500, please and thank you. If you're all in,
well, if you're really all in and you're an even higher roller than those. Comic Sketch Art is now accepting offers for Jason Fabok's original art for the cover that he did.
Yeah. That's going to be a cool $50K.
Cool story, bro.
Easy.
Cool story.
Probably.
What's going on in the world? Square Enix released a Final Fantasy VI statue that I wanted until I found out it was $14,000.
So they had that at Comic-Con. Did I said? Have you seen pictures? I posted some on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, that thing is amazing in person. Trust me. You're like, oh yeah, it was worth like $15,000. Yeah, I totally did. Because it's humongous.
Yeah, it's massive.
It's ridiculous.
We're talking original art. Didn't the New Warriors number or first appear? Like,
did
Thor? My bad. I'm sorry.
Thor 412 original cover art sold. That was in Tom Brevoort's personal collection, I believe. Right? I think it was Brevoort. I think that came out of Brevoort's collection. With the sell for $50,000. Yeah.
Do you have some news for us?
I was not. Okay. I was not. I would have thrown in a bid. I would not have won, but I would have put in a bid. But a couple too many zeros on the end of that for me.
I just love how we went from my Gargoyles question, Batman Spawn, to this.
Kevin has the weekly interview series called Between the Panels at fanbasepress.com. My wife, Leanne, is at leannehill.com, and her art is all over at Etsy, etsy.com/shop/LeanneHillArt.
Wait, hey, Kev, you interviewed, did you interview Patton Oswalt?
No.
Oh. I thought you interviewed somebody for something recently. Who did you do recently?
Okay, yes.
Every single week he interviews someone.
I have done that.
Between the Panels at fanbasepress.com.
See, I'm trying to get to drop some names here, but
Ryan Higgins, that is a name you can follow on Twitter. That's me. Brock is Brock Sager. Toby's Toby XI. He should be back in a couple of weeks. Charlie's Insanity and Chaos. Kevin is at Kevin Sharp. The store is Comics Con Store. Julian is just Julian Titus. Yeah?
No, Julian _Titus.
_Titus. Yep. Check out Geekbox. I'm sure we're going to talk a lot of Empire Survivor next week for sure. And Manga Machinations, our good friend, talking about manga and anime. All right, that is it. Thank you all very much. Back next week. We'll catch up with some news stories. Again, nothing super major. We'll deal with it next week. Goodbye, everyone.
Always next week.